We are half ruined by conformity, but should be wholly ruined without it. A quote from Charles W. Warner. We have created this boundary, a boundary between conformity and individualism, and oftentimes these traits get exploited, thus creating someone who's too individualistic, or a society that is overly conformist, showing the dire and desperate need to achieve a better balance between conformity and individualism. Within a balanced society comes minimal judgment and pressure to follow certain pathways in life, allowing individuals to express themselves and do what they seem fit while ensuring that the order is maintained and the rights and liberties of others aren't impacted. An ideal society. Today, I'll be presenting how texts highlight how an imbalance between individualism and conformity negatively impact individuals and society as a whole. From William Golding's novel Lord of the Flies, where a group of young boys are trapped on an island with a lack of law and order, and from Peter Ware's film Dead Poets Society, where we witness an institution of schoolboys in an incredibly strict traditionalist Protestant governed school. William Golding's Lord of the Flies focuses on how the lack of a governing body or a sense of civilization taps into humans' inherently evil nature, highlighting the glaring flaws of having too much freedom or too much sense of individuality. The boys attempted to establish some form of law, resulting in a semblance of roles necessary for their long-term survival. This, however, derailed quickly, with the boys' survival instinct quickly taking over the thoughts of maintaining a guise of civilization. The disregard for these rules led to the abandonment of the signal fire, preventing them from being rescued, a direct impact of the breakdown of law and order. Further, with the loss of order, the characters transition from being fine young British boys into almost savages. This is shown in Kill the Pig, Cut Her Throat, Spill Her Blood, when the group of boys turn into a mob. The vengeful nature of Jack, wanting to prove himself superior and highlight his utter disregard of the rules, led to the death of Piggy, explicitly showing how law and order is necessary to keep society safe. This situation where chaos runs rampant and laws don't exist isn't just fictional. An example of this is modern-day Somalia, where the non-existence of laws has fueled ongoing armed conflict, insecurity, lack of state protection, and recurring humanitarian crises which have exposed Somali civilians to serious abuse. There are an estimated 2.6 million internally displaced people, many living unassisted and vulnerable to abuse, thus highlighting the issue that the lack of any law, order, or a sense of conforming to the rules can have, even in the modern-day state. Peter Ware's Dead Poets Society demonstrates how an institution forces people to follow strict rules and is mandatory to lead a good life. This restriction of self-thought is shown to make Keating students unfulfilled. The rigid atmosphere within Welton appears to produce ideal archetypal fine young men. The students are always called by their surnames, such as Anderson, come here, denying the students of their individuality and the imposing upon them the ever-present family name. The traditionalist atmosphere clearly demonstrates the students being molded into Welton's ideal archetypal student, forcing upon them a uniform pathway to a middle-class sense of success, following in the footsteps of what others have become and are who they aspire to be. The benefits of the rebellious, rejuvenating Mr. Keating into the clandestine environment of the students brings an experience whereby the students are free to utilize their creative imaginations. Keating's character instills in his students the joys of learning English and the ousting of respected classical literature. Keating and his nonconformist manner was not welcomed by the powers of Welton Academy, showing how traditionalist civilizations clamp down on nonconforming thoughts. In the contemporary world, we can see a direct comparison with the Taliban in Afghanistan, forcing society to act uniformly and live life the way they deem fit. The last time the Taliban had taken control, they prohibited women to study and work, enforced clothing modifications, and kidnapped women into forced marriages with Taliban soldiers. This major restriction of freedom forced people to flee the country by any means necessary, many even risking their lives. A balance between conformity and individualism is required for a society to be successful and its people optimistic. To quote the character John Keating, there's a time for daring and there's a time for caution, and a wise man understands which is called for.